Hey guys, welcome to the J-Chip Show. My name is J-Chip, and today I'm reviewing all three Jak and Daxter games in one video. I thought about doing separate videos for each game, but I said fuck it, let's do one video reviewing the trilogy, one by one. I don't necessarily know if this is going to be a long video considering I prefer to make shorter reviews, but if it does end up being long, just get yourself a snack and a beer or a drink or whatever, and enjoy the show. Jak and Daxter was originally released back on December 4th, 2001 in North America and was only available for the PlayStation 2. The story of Jak and Daxter begins with our duo sneaking around when Daxter accidentally falls into a pool of dark eco that turns him into an Ottsel. And now there might be a way to reverse the outcome and change Daxter back into becoming a human, while also trying to save the world from the evil sage Gol and his sister Maya. Throughout your journey, you'll be palling around with a sage named Samos and his daughter Kiara. As mentioned, Samos is a sage and is old and wise. Kiara is a very tech-savvy person and often helps out our heroes when it comes to opening gates or doing something tech-related. As simple as the story is, I think it serves its purpose, and I find the main cast of characters to bring this world to life, and the lore between the eco and the precursors are all fascinating. And this game does a good job of exploring its lore. While the actual story may not be the strongest, I do appreciate that they do give me enough lore to think about how this world functions, what's beyond this world rather than just what I'm playing in. What are the precursors and how are they important? All of that is very fascinating and interesting. Jak and Daxter delivers a familiar yet engaging action platformer experience that centers on the fundamental task of collecting power cells to propel the narrative forward. The control scheme is, for the most part, intuitive and responsive, allowing players to navigate the vibrant environments with relative ease. However, one notable caveat lies in the floatiness of the jumping mechanics. This can occasionally disrupt the feeling of precise control, leading to frustrating moments and at times unavoidable deaths, which has happened to me quite a few times in this playthrough, especially during the more intricate platforming sequences or battles. They're really annoying and I wish that they refined them a little bit better. However, I am willing to forgive some aspects of it because this came out in 2001. Another thing is that the camera isn't always the greatest and can be your worst enemy. It's not the worst thing ever, it is something you will have to get used to if you want to go back to these games, but it is something worth note. Despite the minor drawbacks, the combat, particularly when dispatching enemies as Jak, offers a satisfying sense of accomplishment. There are a few boss fights, some of them are fun, they're a little too easy, but the final boss fight, though, is a really satisfying boss fight, and once you get them done, you'll feel accomplished. Furthermore, the level design stands out as a significant strength, showcasing considerable creativity. Each level presents a diverse array of challenges, all designed to facilitate the acquisition of the coveted power cells. This core mechanic bears a strong resemblance to the beloved collectathon tropes popularized by Super Mario 64 with its Power Stars or Banjo-Kazooie's with its Jiggies. Ultimately, it shares a nice resemblance to those games, and collecting the Power Cells is pretty fun. Some of them are very straightforward to obtain, however there are quite a few that do require a bit more effort, and some are a bit more challenging than others. Either way, collecting Power Cells is satisfying, and that's what kept me going through the game without feeling overwhelmed or bored. To finish the main game, players need around 72 power cells, though 101 are available in total. Gathering all of them unlocks a special ending, which I must say is rather underwhelming. I did not collect all 101 power cells myself. I pretty much just watched the special ending on YouTube because I wanted to get done with the game, and I wasn't impressed. Nonetheless, completionists do get a reward for their dedication, which is a thoughtful inclusion, but for me personally, I didn't really give a fuck. The game features an interconnected world that provides a pseudo-open world experience, enhancing its expansive feel. a welcome addition that I'm a big fan of, and while this isn't necessarily an open world game, it does have that feel of one, and I really do appreciate that. I think that's very creative. The presentation for this game is really good. The graphics are so colorful and full of life, and even the darker moments are pretty cool looking too. The day and night system really brings the world to life and is a nice touch. I really like the character models. I think Jak and Daxter look really cool and they're very iconic. The monsters themselves look really cool. Overall, this is a very good looking game for 2001. The music in this game is really solid as well. My favorite songs from this game would definitely be Sandover Village. I just love how chill that song is with the bass and the drums. Misty's Island also has a really nice song that adds more tension, and I really like it a lot. Another favorite of mine is Snowy Mountain. I love the bells in the background, and the whole vibe of the level mixed with that song in particular was a highlight for me. Overall, I would say that Jak and Daxter is a very solid game. It does have a lot of janky moments, and sometimes the controls can be a bit wonky. The camera isn't really your best friend, but I will give them all a pass because I do think this is a fun game to play. The special ending isn't really anything to note of. You can just collect the 71 power cells and be done with it, but if you do want to go for the completion, you can if you want to. Either way, I do think this is a fun game, and I do think you should check this out, so yeah. Jak 2 takes place about 300 years after the first game. Jak and Daxter are seeing what's happening with Samos and Kiara as they're tinkering around with a device called the Rift Rider. And suddenly a portal opens up with a bunch of monsters, and our heroes are sucked into the portal and end up in Haven City, a dystopia ruled by a tyrannical bastard named Baron Praxis. As Jak and Daxter are sent to Haven City, Jak is arrested, while Daxter runs off. It's been 2 years since Jak has been arrested, and during this time Jak has been tortured by the government in their attempts of creating a dark eco-warrior. However, Daxter ends up breaking Jak out of jail, but because it's been 2 years, Jak can transform into a dark eco-monster for a bit. That makes him stronger. It also gives him the ability to talk. Yes, Jak can talk in this one. So now that you're free, it's up to you to take down Baron and uncover the dark secrets this city has. Obviously, one of the biggest things going for Jak 2 compared to Jak and Daxter is the story. The story of Jak 2 is more fleshed out with more character arcs and story arcs. There's a lot of character development and characterization, and it's all really cool. Another thing that you will probably notice as you get out of the jail is that this shares a lot with GTA. You have a decent sized city to explore, and later on more parts of the city open up. You can steal vehicles, you can drive anywhere, you can get in trouble with the law, and to get to a mission you have to drive to their certain location to activate their mission. While I like the evolution of this series, this is very jarring when you go from Jak and Daxter to Jak 2. I know some people found this to be a major step down, but for me, I kind of dig the GTA style. But I can understand where people are coming from when they just don't like this style of game that Jak and Daxter eventually became. Now, there are a ton of missions. This is a pretty lengthy game. One of the main aspects I like about the missions is that there is a decent variety of missions, often with different playstyles. And while some are better than others, and trust me, there are some horrible missions in this game, I at least appreciate that Naughty Dog thought outside the box for some of these missions, and some of them are fairly fun. I really liked the racing missions. Those were really fun. I also like the missions where you're taking out a bunch of enemies. Those are really fun too. The annoying ones are the escort missions for sure, and those ones are just so annoying. There's one specific one where you're in a tunnel where you have these people that they have to follow you, and you have to stay alive throughout the entire thing because this game hoards a lot of checkpoints, and if you're not careful you will have to do the entire mission all over again, which is very annoying. Also, any mission involving a timer is a pain in the ass. The gameplay is almost the same as Jak and Daxter, however, you do get firearms, and those are pretty fun. You get a shotgun, you get a rifle, you get a machine gun sort of thing, and you get a grenade launcher. These guns are pretty fun to use. However, the rifle is the best weapon in the entire game and is pretty much the main weapon you're going to be going with. At least for me, that's what I went with. The shotgun is pretty nice, but the rifle just has better accuracy and is just by and large a better weapon than most of the other guns. Control-wise, it's pretty much the same as Jak and Daxter. I found the floatiness in the first game to be fixed in this one, so I really appreciate that. The one aspect, though, that I was not a fan of in terms of controls is driving around the city. It seems that you're either going way too slow or way too fast, and the turns are just a little too floaty, and you end up crashing your vehicle into things. And it's especially annoying when you're in a chase mission. Those can get pretty annoying. Graphically, Jak 2 is an improvement from Jak and Daxter, as I feel character models are more refined and the environments look really good as well. The actual city itself looks really cool too. There's a lot of interesting areas to explore, and visually I have no complaints whatsoever. The soundtrack is also something to be worth mentioning. It's much more darker and foreboding compared to Jak and Daxter, but I rather like the vibe they're trying to go with. The voice acting is pretty solid for the most part. Jak is voiced by Mike Irwin, and he does a really good job of bringing the character to life. The dialogue is a bit edgy for some of it, but I can forgive it. I still really enjoyed it. Max Casella does a great job as Daxter. I think he's really funny in this one, especially because the dialogue is a bit more mature. There's a lot more swearing. It's not a vulgar game, but you will hear damn, bitch, and hell. But also there's a bit more suggested themes going on here, so it's not exactly a kid's game. It is rated T for a reason. Overall though, Jak 2 is pretty solid, all things considered. It does have a lot of frustrating moments, and there are parts of this game where I felt like, man, I don't really like this. But as I kept playing, as I kept moving forward, I did end up enjoying it. And I thought the ending was really good. I think this was a pretty solid game. Jak 3 takes place about a year after the events of Jak 2. Both Jak and Daxter are exiled to the Wasteland. Jak and Daxter navigate a war-torn world, battling enemies and uncovering secrets about his past and the planet's fate with the new light eco powers that Jak possesses. The story continues from Jak 2, and I would say Jak 3 does a good job with its storytelling from one game to the other. It's a smooth transition, and I really do appreciate that. Playing both back to back is a pretty nice option. Once again, the gameplay is really good. It pretty much takes everything from Jak 2 and just plants it right in Jak 3. I guess don't fix what ain't broken, so that's cool. The driving is a bit better because I feel like you're more in control of the vehicle. I think maybe it's because it has wheels. Not only is the driving better, but the guns come back from Jak 2, and they're all pretty much the same, but they all are upgradable and they're pretty fun to use. I still primarily use the rifle most of the time just because I think it's the best weapon, but you can have fun with all of the guns in this game. The light eco powers are a nice addition, and I think they're handled a bit better than the dark eco powers. While the dark eco powers are cool, I never really found use for them. Even in Jak 2, I didn't really use it at all, and in Jak 3, I didn't use it at all either. The light ones at least felt more useful, especially when it comes to the jumping, because there's one that glides. That one's really fun, and also there's one that heals. That comes in clutch, especially at the end. Jak 3 is definitely the best looking game out of the trilogy. Character models look great, animation is smooth, the backgrounds are nice. The detail in the worlds are fantastic, especially with what happens to Haven City. Won't spoil it, but Haven City looks pretty cool, and I really do like the fact that you go back there. I think that's a really nice touch. Sound-wise, the music is great, the voice acting is great, have no complaints there. I really like the tone that they're trying to go for. It's not as dark and edgy as Jak 2, but it still has a very foreboding presence to it in certain levels. The missions in Jak 3 are fairly solid for the most part. There are a couple frustrating ones, but this game is definitely easier compared to Jak 2. Jak 3 is a bit more safe with its difficulty, I feel like, because I feel like you can mess up a lot in Jak 3 and still beat it pretty easily. The only frustrating parts are probably the minigames, as those ones are a bit janky and you have to get used to them, especially the ones involving the turret. Wasn't necessarily a fan of that. Another thing I wasn't a fan of was just how rushed things seem to be. There are a lot of characters that were really cool in Jak 2, and even in Jak and Daxter, that are kinda just mitigated to the side cast. Samus and Kiara are sidelined and aren't too important to the plot of Jak 3, which is a shame because I rather like those characters. The characters in Jak 3 are fine, but a little bland compared to Jak 2 and Jak and Daxter. One last negative for this game, the final boss was very lackluster. As I was nearing the end, I felt a bit melancholy because I was gonna be done with the trilogy. And once I was done with the final boss, I felt really sad. The final boss was painfully easy, and the fight itself was way too short. However, that being said, they do make it up for having a rather nice ending to it. Also, the major plot twist that happens before the boss fight, I didn't see coming at all, and I actually was really glad that I wasn't spoiled to it at all, because I was like, damn, things make sense now. And the actual ending of the game is very good, and it does wrap up things in a nice little bow. I am aware that Nathan is going to come into the comments being like, oh yeah, but Jak X continues the story. I'm aware. We'll get to that someday. Maybe. But Jak 3 does end on a really nice, solid conclusion to where if I don't play any other Jak games, or if they even make another Jak game, like, I feel like the franchise really is fine with just ending at 3. And there's my review of the Jak and Daxter games. As mentioned, I am aware of Jak X, and I do know it continues the story. And I'm aware of the PSP games, but I'm done with the Jak and Daxter games for now. I'm sure I'll get to those eventually. I did have a good time going through the 3 Jak and Daxter games because they're really fun. I think they have very interesting worlds, cool characters, and the gameplay is very solid. Even the transition from Jak and Daxter to Jak 2 may be jarring, but I still had a lot of fun with it. Jak 3 is probably my favorite because of the overall balance of it is really smooth. I really like the narrative in Jak 2, and I think that the gameplay overall is pretty fun in Jak and Daxter. I think if I had to pick a definitive favorite for me, it would probably be Jak and Daxter, just because of how simple and how straightforward that game is. Also, I'm a slough for 3D platformers, so yeah. Anyways, I'm gonna cut it here. I hope you enjoyed this video. I know it was longer for me standards, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know down below what you thought of the Jak and Daxter series, if you've played them at all. If you haven't, they are all available on the PlayStation Store, on the PS5 and PS4, so you have ways to play the games if you don't want to play them on the PS2 like I did. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have a great day.